You and I are constantly bombarded by misinformation from politicians, celebrities, and media personalities who demonize guns and gun owners. Their accounts are contrary to my experience as a responsible gun owner, a retired police officer, and a professional competitive shooter. I have listened to their lies and I've taken their punches, but I refuse to stay silent any longer because I know a lot of women who have something to say and they won in the game. They're ready to play offense with the truth.
The truth is, we all want the same thing: to protect ourselves, our families, and to be safe in our communities. The DC Project is a nationwide grassroots organization made up of women from every demographic. We come from all different walks of life, but we are united in preserving our Second Amendment rights. As we share our experiences, we push back against gun control lies and oppose those who demand our rights be restricted.
As an immigrant from Venezuela, I saw how easy it was for freedom to die. My family and I watched tyranny destroy our home. In Venezuela, the media, celebrities, and politicians repeated the same anti-gun messages until people found it normal and acceptable to give up their freedoms. The reality is, none of it is normal or acceptable. Hungry and helpless, Venezuelans are now unable to protect themselves. Now, as a proud American, I am determined to guard against the same things happening here.
We constantly hear about common sense gun control, like universal background checks, banning assault weapons, ghost guns, high-capacity magazines, and gun show loopholes. Every city that is facing massive crime waves have put these policies into place. Common sense tells me that they don't work. So why do people still believe the idea that those policies save lives? Actual common sense is holding criminals accountable, not letting them out of jail or encouraging them to be more confrontational. Common sense is not stealing the right of the American people to protect themselves. This is the message that America needs to hear.
The DC Project works to reduce firearm accidents by campaigning for education in schools. We counter the false gun control lies by testifying in hearings and meeting our legislators. We equip our friends, our families, and our communities to know the truth. Gun owners are good people.
America is a beacon of freedom. The Second Amendment is vital piece in ensuring that our kids can have a free country to grow up in. We stand with the lawmakers who support the Constitution, and we provide armor from the attacks by the gun control lobby.
Join the DC Project today. Become a member, donate, or subscribe to our newsletter for updates on how we educate, advocate, and preserve our Second Amendment rights for generations to come.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
shooter stand by.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Hey, folks. Happy 1 week till election time, and then you get your TV back.
You know, the thing is we've been fighting in this two-way fight for years and years and years, right? And it's better. I mean, it's kind of nice to see a actual TV that's not fighting about guns this time. It's about everything but guns.
Everything but guns. Well, guns, I don't know. Even it's really kind of funny because some of the liberal candidates have been filming themselves at the gun range, and when you watch it, you're like, dude,
they're like Elmer Fudd with the gun upside down and backwards and everything.
Well, you've not handled a gun, and no one in your film crew is smart enough to know that if they change the angle, they can't see just how schleppy you are with this.
But none of them have shot the other guy in the face like Dick Cheney back in the day. So,
well, I have to say that that though Dick Cheney did shoot the dude in the face, sort of, the dude walked out in front of the firing line. Well, so there's a
you get what you got because you got what you get.
I'm not defending Dick Cheney by any means, but if you are in the middle of trap shooting and somebody decides that they're going to run down there and gather a bird
hunting or something at that time,
I don't know what they were doing.
But anyhow, it was a long time ago. But
it really was. But politicians, you'll not get past that.
Pay attention, be safe, go out and do some hunting, have some fun. The neighbor kid, he come over the other day. He's going on a youth hunt this morning, so he comes over all excited.
Well, you have to back up. The neighbor kid posted pictures of him and his sister going through hunter safety. So I think mom went too. So it was mom and the two kids went through hunter safety. And then they planned their hunt.
But then he was going on this youth hunt, so I give him 6 boxes of bullets for his 20-gauge shotgun, and they went hunting this morning, and they posted some pictures. They got a couple of pheasants and that. So
it looked like there was a whole line of kids all holding a couple birds.
Right, so they seem to do pretty good for what they were.
Well, talk about immediate gratification for an effort expended. I mean, that's
the thing was, when I was a kid, you could go out and find pheasants in the wild here in Ohio. They're no longer here. I don't know where they went to. I don't know where they went to. But I mean, they released them now for these youth hunts, and occasionally you'll find one or two, but they're not like they used to be.
So these are pheasants that are grown kind of wild in big cages. Is that it? And then released?
And I don't know the details on that, but I just know that. When I was a kid, we didn't have turkeys, but now we have turkeys.
There's a lot.
We did have pheasants and grouse and bobwhite quail. I haven't seen any of that stuff in a long time.
Do you know the thing that I see a lot of, crazy as it is these really ugly, they look like they ought to be in a cartoon, like turkey buzzards. So they're like, I don't know, they're half turkey, half buzzard.
We live close to Hinckley, where the buzzard capital
of the world. This is like a freaky turkey buzzard.
You think about WMMS for years was the home of the buzzards. So that's where they might live, is up in Cleveland at the MMS or something.
Well, I don't know, or they live in Portage County or Arsenal. I don't know, but yeah.
There's other parts of the country where you can go, and there's plenty of wild pheasants and grouse and stuff like this. Northeast Ohio is not one of them.
So do you think that it is this would be an interesting thing to talk to somebody.
Location.
No, is it a coyote issue where they eat the eggs?
I don't know.
I mean, for ground birds?
Maybe the real estate's too expensive for them. Maybe the black bears have moved in.
They don't have, the real estate's too expensive. They don't have pockets to put their dollars.
We didn't have bears when I was a kid. We got bears now too. Maybe that's something that was a thing.
I don't know. It would be an interesting conversation to folks who do know.
It goes to show you why when you go out in the woods in the dark, you want to have your gun in your pocket, because we got bears now.
We got bears. We got coyotes. We got bobcat. We now have things that will eat you. Now, the West has been familiar with things that eat you
Right.
for years and years, and now
We pretty much exterminated all that stuff back in the 20s so that we didn't have to deal with it, and now it's starting to come back. So some people say good move, and others are like, maybe not so much.
So one of our listeners in California, George, says that he has plenty of quail. That's kind of cool. We really don't have a lot.
When I was a kid, there used to be about 20 of them that would come off of the neighbor's hill down across the road, and they would go from one car to the next to make their way down to the creek. While I was working on the
they were hiding under the cars, or what?
They'd hide under the car, and then they make this whole line of quail would make their way down to the creek, and then they come back and head back up the hill again.
I love seeing like a mama quail and the quail chicklings, and they're all like waddle, waddle, waddle. I'm sorry. If you're watching video, I'm sorry for that waddle interpretive dance there.
Why, you don't want to watch interpretive dance on the...
Yeah, I'm not an interpretive dancer, but that just slipped out there for a minute. It was somewhat scary.
So, but yeah, it's nice that kids are getting out doing things. I mean, we've gone a couple of times to the turkey shoots and stuff like that in the neighborhood. Getting out and doing more and more things. I know that their dad was talking about getting them into shooting .22 rifles a little more and stuff, so I don't know if they're going to try to hook them up with a 4-H club or something like this.
One of the venture crews or the 4-H club, or even the Steel Challenger, one of those where they're shooting close steel-ish stuff. So did you see where Gabby Franco has pulled something, and so she has to switch shooting sports for a while because she can't do 3-gun. She can't run, jump, shoot because her runner is broken. And and her jumper. So she needs to be able to limp, walk, and shoot. And so she's switching to Steel Challenge because she doesn't have to.
Maybe what she needs is what's some little hoverboard things the kids got with some wheels on it. They just lean forward and backwards. And
maybe.
I don't know if holding your gun while you're riding one of those would be a prudent.
I think you need to. Well, Lanny Barnes has nailed balance, but she's also was a biathlete, so she was skiing and shooting, right? So she kind of had that down. But I find it interesting when you watch somebody who is really good at something that some reason they can't do it now, and so they switch. So they just switch to something else. I mean, I know that you were dealing with your cataracts, switched hands.
I just switched hands. It's still the same
dominant
game.
eye and hands.
But it's funny, too. If you watch someone who's really, really good at it, they make it look simple because there's almost no motion to it. It's slow. They go nice and slow and methodical. And everybody's like, oh, well, if I had so-and-so's gun, I could shoot like that, too. It's like, no, you can't. Face the facts. So,
it's sort of like people with a guitar that says, I wish that I could play like him. And it's like, well, since you don't hold a guitar in your hand 20 hours a day,
and fall asleep on top of it.
You really don't wish that you could be as good as that person who...
Right. I mean, that's the thing. You have to sleep with that guitar for about 25 years before you get to where you can play some of the stuff these guys are able to do.
Well, and you have to be willing to put in the time.
That too. When we were out at Gunsight, they were saying about some people were just naturally freaks. They were built a different way than 99.9% of the rest. So some of them have a bigger hand or a little faster. Their thought path is a little faster, so they look like they're going really fast, but in reality they're going the normal speed for them, which is twice as fast as you go. So
right, it was pretty interesting as they were kind of talking about different people. So they had in one of their classes, they had somebody who professionally shot. I don't remember what they said that they professionally shot, but the dude was so fast that everybody else that was in the shooting line had a hard time.
Oh, he was a police officer, but he shot on a professional, like Olympic thing, and so he would start way late from everybody else when they started, and he could still finish before them.
But it kept the group together because if he started when they started, he was done, and they all just were bewildered and demoralized. So he just learned that he was a slow starter, and that kept the team together, if you will. And I mean, that sort of makes sense, and it gives him credence and credibility for how aware he is of the unit, of the team, and how to make the team. So not only was he doing what he needed to do, but how he was making the team successful while he was doing it.
The rest of them would just think he's got some slow reactionary times or something, versus the fact that he's standing there waiting for them.
Wasn't
like he's drinking a cup of coffee and smoking a cigarette, waiting for them to get almost done.
I'm telling you though, because some people are so much faster than others, and you're one of those. I mean, you just, as one of the shooters said, you just kind of sit there looking like a sloth, and the next thing you know, you're done and putting your gun away, right? It's pretty funny. So folks, we've got a pretty interesting show today. Lots of news, lots of things, and we'll be back right after this to share that with you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie. I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
So as you know, we are Ohio-based, and being Ohio-based, it's been an interesting thing watching Ohio pass their concealed carry in 2004, and then watching Ohio has a whole series of cities that start with C: Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland, all of them from C to Shining C. All of them.
They hate you.
They hate you to A. There's no doubt about it. So those cities have absolutely voiced their disgust in the 2A world.
You know, the funny part is when you look at this stuff, Bruen, again, I'm going to beat that drum, is going to take everyone, and these gun laws, all this stuff's going to go away, and we're going to have to be mean to the criminals. So when you got gangs that are running the city or something like this, they're going to have to start doing something to these gangs. They can't just say nothing. We're seeing some of the stuff in the election cycle coming up Tuesday,
right?
That it's about defund the police or this or that.
Now they're all saying they didn't.
They didn't say that. But we know they've said it. We've seen it. We've got it on tape somewhere and all this stuff. But America's love affair with the timeout chair is gone, and we are going to have to be mean. And as back in the old days where they would tar and feather politicians that were bad, probably coming back. Stuff that's hanging somebody for doing something very offensive, probably coming back. There's a lot of things that we're going to have to revisit in our history, distasteful or not, to prove a point that we are no longer going to settle for
that society has rules for a reason, and when you violate societal rules, that there should
it's going to hurt.
It's going to
change hurts.
Yeah. Well, my mother used to say the stupid ought to hurt. So there's a piece of that. But let's go into talking a little bit about what's happening in Ohio, because it's kind of weird, and it ties back to Bruen.
Well, way back in the day, they passed a preemption law in Ohio, and the best part of that was that if you challenged them
and
you lost, you had to pay both guys legal fees,
and so Cleveland has had to pay a couple times. Columbus, right. Cincinnati,
and so since they know you're going to pay the fees, they got nothing against putting a lot of lawyers on the case. So you're paying a lot of money to beat yourself.
There is some of that, but in this case, there was Columbus filed a lawsuit against the state, and it was about preemption. And it really, the heart of it is that it was whether cities can zone to prevent firearm manufacturers from ranges, from gun shops being allowed to be in a certain neighborhood. So it was really preemption as it went into zoning. That's really what it was.
Some of the stuff is, when it comes down to it, they'll find out that zoning is also against the Constitution, but that's for another fight and another day.
Another day.
But some of the stuff is that they are the only thing they can do is keep you from opening a business. If as a private citizen, there's not a lot of things that they can stop you from doing with the gun in their area,
except for opening a business. So what was really funny was that for 3 years, the Franklin County, which is Columbus, Ohio, Franklin County Common Pleas judge, he just sat on it. He elected to not make a decision. He kept saying, I'm thinking about it. It just takes me a long time to think. So
and the thing
3
was,
years.
When Bruen come through in June,
right,
that freed up his hands because he can actually make a decision now that doesn't make a difference one way or the other because Bruen will step on the whole thing.
Bruen's going to do so politically he could decide, and he did, and I am adding my editorial comment about politically, but he decided in favor of the cities when it is really very clear what preemption has done and what all of the other lawsuits in Ohio have confirmed.
Well, the only thing he did is he kept the city from paying the lawsuits for 3 years of him sitting on it.
But now he ruled in favor of the city, which means the state has to pay the city's lawyers, right, until it gets appealed, and then it will go there. But now it will be appealed, and it will add Bruen to it as part of the appeal. So it's going to make it extremely interesting. And so
if you're a political junkie, this is a wonderful time to be alive. If you're clueless and watching Cartoon Channel, there's no difference. Go back to sleep.
There is that. So Dean Reek from Buckeye Firearms is saying that any city that attempts to ignore Ohio's preemption law, it will be challenged in court. And we will not, Buckeye Firearms will not sit idly by and watch Ohio devolve into a patchwork of conflicting gun laws as we had 2 decades ago. 2 decades ago, it was a hot mess. You could not drive around Ohio, even if your gun was legal in one county.
I'll tell you, when the concealed carry law passed in Cincinnati, or not Cincinnati, Toledo, they had a points system. So if you had a gun that had certain features like an HK P7 M9, there was things in that you couldn't live in Toledo and have that gun in your possession. But if you were traveling around the country with that gun, then that was legal. But how's that for a gray area?
Right. You could own the gun, you just couldn't own it at home. Right. Your gun had to be in boarding school. and from there, periodically, you could go visit it and take it on vacation and do things with it. And then you'd have to check it back into boarding school.
Right. I'm surprised somebody hasn't sold a license plate so that your car was a sovereign nation of some other state so as long as it stayed in the car, then really didn't have.
You were a sovereign nation of your own. Wow. Can you imagine if it was like, let's say Indian motorcycles, because you use the Indian name, because the Indians have managed they reserved property that is not part of the state. They own their own stuff. So you need to reach out to, an Indian chief or two, literally, Indian chief or two. You could be like, look, dude, I have an idea for some funding for the Indian nation of yours. So, yeah, could be. We'll be back right after this.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Shotgun with Charlie. I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, KRMAradio.com.
Okay, since we're talking politics to a point, guns and politics.
To a point.
I mean, this is the week of politics. Then hopefully we'll get past it. But did you see the state Senate candidate Tim Ryan, who's Ohio?
No, I try not to watch any of his stuff.
Okay, well, he has a commercial where he's shooting a gun. Did I tell you this already?
No, you said there's some of them that are shooting a gun that are not too well versed in how to happen.
His posture,
his posture. Was he in Youngstown just shooting down the street like everybody else does?
No, but but his posture was very much like when a guy is out to impress a teenage girl, want to go to the range, and then he hands her the biggest gun that he possibly can, and so she's a size 2, trying to counterbalance it, and so she plants her feet, tucks her butt, shoulders go back, arms go out, and then she's like this big inverted C, and that as soon as she pulls the trigger, she's going to be laying on her keister, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what they told me at Gunsight, too.
Yeah, there you go. So that is how Tim Ryan stands with a gun. And his cameraman is looking at him perpendicularly. So if the cameraman were at an angle, you could...
So behind him a little bit so that you could see over his shoulder or something.
Would have been much better. Instead, you're like, I'm like, dude, there is no way that they're going to show us the target because there is no way that you hit it.
Maybe had somebody else shoot it for him.
Maybe.
That's how the politician stuff works. Is you just get the idea and somebody else makes it happen.
I don't have to do it. I have people for that, right? Is that what you're saying? I have people for that.
I got people for that.
I got people for that. Well, in this case, for personal defense, he's got people for that. And so it was for cameramen. He's got people.
Maybe Hillary Clinton does all of his shooting.
So I heard that. I mean, remember years ago when Barack Obama was doing some kind of some bird.
The one where they had the picture with the shotgun.
Right, and it was so obvious that he had no idea where to put his hands or how to do it. And finally, whoever was showing him,
they don't have many shotguns in Africa. That's why.
So I don't know where he was raised. I mean, part of it, there's not a lot in Hawaii either because they're pretty anti-gun. So depends on where his dad was, where his mom was, where they had him living, all that. But still, whoever was training him, whoever gave him the gun, they finally were like, dude, okay, that's close enough. We're good enough.
Maybe that was a couple hours into it and they'd already gave up.
I give up. I have a giant headache and it ain't getting any better. Dude, it ain't getting any better. Exactly. That is exactly. So our video producer has popped up the picture, but it is just not good. We'll just say. Interesting, and you're looking at it going, do I know that range, right? as we're looking at the whole thing. But anyhow, so they say that Dr. Oz had a gun picture, and I mean, so many politicians put on a plaid vest and throw a shotgun over their shoulder and walk and talk the 2A walk, and it's like, look, you're way better than if you were like, I have taken the classes and I have my concealed carry, or I took hunter safety when I was 12. Those are way more credible things. Yeah, excuse me, it's called a pinch shooter. Yeah. In a pinch, I'm going to pull out a gun and pretend like I'm pro 2A. I don't think that those photo ops help them in the way that they believe that they help. It helps them.
Most of the people either don't look at it or they don't know any more about it than what they do, so they're good with it.
And I look at that and I'm like, I want to make cartoon noises, the blah, 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 blah.
Some of the stuff that we do, though, I mean, look at how the NRA and that is like, well, the deer hunter doesn't stick up for the duck hunter, and the duck hunter doesn't stick up for the black powder shooter, and the black powder shooter doesn't stick up for the 50 caliber guy. And
so we need a bumper sticker that says, why can't we all just get along?
Yeah, but it won't work. We need more than a bumper sticker, I think.
Right? I don't know.
I got your back.
Right?
I think they call it a 6 now.
Yeah, well, there is that. If you're in the military, but I'm not.
Most people can't tell time. I got your 4:30.
Why was it called a 6?
Because it's 6 o'clock from what they're looking at. So if they're looking at 12, you're looking at 6.
Oh, I had no idea. I was like,
and that's why there's some people are still looking at the 4:30.
Maybe because I had no idea why they had their 6. I was thinking we're off shift. We're going to get a drink. I didn't know what I had your 6 was. I really didn't. Oh man, this is one of those BCG group moments, right? I have to self-report. One time, somebody was discussing something about a BCG. I don't know, something about a BCG. And in context, I had no idea what the context was. And I was like, I don't even know what it is. And Chris Serino calls me and he's like, you're kidding, right?
It's one of the things. I got some. I just didn't know that's what they call it.
And then, exactly. When he told me what it was, I was like, oh, okay.
I got those.
I got those. And I have called them by their full name, Bolt Carrier Group. I didn't know that we had like certain little cute words for things. We had code, we had code for that. Yeah. I don't know. Our video producer's adding editorials. So if you have an opportunity to see us both on YouTube or on OpsLens, sometimes it's well worth that. You'll get the interpretive dance. You'll get some of the comments. You'll get some of the listeners' comments that we may or may not comment on, but we do see, nod, appreciate. So it's a little bit of all of that happens. What's really funny is so Oh, yeah. We set our clocks back, so now I'm looking at your 7. That's funny. I get it now. See? Sometimes I just have to be I just have to be led. I just have to be led, reel me over, make me face it, look at it.
Or is it 5? Because I don't know. I'm like, that's how I am. Did I fall ahead or backwards?
Spring forward, fall back.
Luckily, my phone does it automatically for me.
I have to tell you, my husband, who has been, I hate technology, and I have a perfectly good flip phone that has worked since 1994 or some date, right? Verizon made him change because they're like, we will not support this phone. We are going to shut it off as of December 1. So I had to get him to a smartphone. I heard him talking to his friends today on the phone, and he was marveling at the fact that he got up and his smartphone knew what time it was, and he could use that to set all the clocks in the house. And I'm like, wow, if there is one thing to appreciate about a smartphone, I guess it knows what time it is. And the last time the government said they had my back, both hands were on my shoulders. Yeah. Well, we'll move on. We'll just move on from that.
Step over that one and keep going.
Step right over it. There. Some of the military terms I just don't quite get. I mean,
well, think about it. It's a bunch of like 16, 17, 18-year-olds that are half drunk and making asses of themselves. So they come up with terminology that doesn't make sense to general people, only if you're there.
You're like, oh,
like they say, you kind of had to be there. So some of that.
Yeah, and fortunately for me, I mean, I appreciate every person who was in the service. I appreciate everything that they have done to make America as great as it is and to stand as strong as it is. I'm also grateful that I was not called upon to have to do that because I want to be Goldie Hawn in the military, the one with the beaches and the palm trees, not the one with the machine guns and the having to run 5 miles.
And it's funny, I have friends that were overseas in the military and they come back and they're still, they're very childish in some cases. I mean, they have a sense of humor that is not on par with the normal adult. And so you have to think a little bit out of the box. I mean, it's like when you were 14 years old and telling dirty jokes, and they weren't really that dirty. They just made you laugh inside.
Right. I fully get it. So it's really funny because both Rob and I were quasi raised by a Marine. So our uncle was 2 terms in Vietnam, and then he came back and he lived at our house.
Right.
And
so some of the stuff that he talked about isn't relevant today in the way of
no, and it isn't for public consumption. We'll just say, and but it has like oozed into some of my conversation because I've had people say to me, so who's the Marine in your family? So obviously it's in my DNA. I just don't know what it was, but so in our formative years,
police this area up, and if it ain't growing, it's going.
Well, there is all of that, and you were cleaning this up, or I learned the definition of dysentery at that point. I think was at the top of someone's lungs. We'll just say as they look at a teenager's bedroom. So those were some of our formative years. I actually just recently had an opportunity to go down to Florida and visit him, and it was you appreciate those people in your life. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And I had an opportunity one time to tell Arlie Ermy that my nanny was a Marine, and he was like, tell her thanks, and I was like, well, I'll tell him. So there you go. We'll be back right after these messages to see what else we can dig up.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie. I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
So, so somebody's like getting my shirt. No, that was a company I worked for at one point. It just is, it's a very comfortable shirt, and I was going to change out of it before coming to the studio, and I forgot. So, there you go. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Not, but okay. But since I don't work there anymore, there's nothing that they can say or do to me at all.
And they can't even give you a new shirt to wear. You're stuck with the old one.
Well, that's it. It's perfectly comfortable. And it's got the flag. It's it's a great shirt. So yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the fact that Bill Clinton. Well, he came out and he's making a midterm pitch for gun control. I want to know a couple things. One is he still pertinent? Is he still viable? Is it timely? And is he just blasting?
Most people, I mean, the Democrats have started on their background checks, and they wanted safety, like safe storage laws.
Only the police should have guns.
All this stuff has kind of gone away as we get closer to election day.
Well, that's because they found out that the American public is going, look, crimes are skyrocketing, and I am my own first defender.
We're still setting records on how many guns we're selling.
Right.
So Bill Clinton
he didn't get the memo.
Woke up somewhere and decided he was still in 2004, trying to get his crime bill back.
He wants the federal assault weapons ban, the 1994 Bill Clinton crime bill, to be reestablished while he's still alive. Well, he thinks he's still pertinent and viable, and I think that.
Bruin said that's going away.
I think he missed the boat on so many things and was like, "Wow, dude, you're still alive." That was my first thing, and second was, "Wow, dude, Hillary let you talk," right? Because frankly, when you hear the word Clinton now, you do not think President Bill Clinton. You think the Hillster. That is it.
Right. Well, and then you look over your shoulder to see if she's coming.
She's. There you go. I'm just saying. Wait, that was a shower. Nope, you're not safe there either. Okay. Moving on.
But that thing is, it's a losing thing. A lot of their stuff that they talk about is not gaining any traction, and so they keep moving to new stuff. You notice that they're attacking the coal industry, but they're really not telling you how much better the sunshine industry is or anything like this.
Well, since at the same time they're attacking the coal industry, they're telling Californians not to recharge their electric vehicles.
Remember when Obama was in and he put all that money into battery companies and everything, and they all stole his money and went and did other things?
It's bad.
I think they went and bought gas leases in the ANWR or something.
Because they were like, this is where the money is. It's not in batteries. You know, at some point, batteries are going to be the future. I don't disagree
with all
with
things
them.
like that. It does, but it's the kind of thing that right now it's too early, and it's the kind of thing that as prices go up on fossil fuels, as they call it, even though it's nothing to do with the fossil, it makes it to where hydrogen is worth putting money into, looking into. Electric cars is worth putting money into, different forms of things. But if we look back in history, I mean, they tried hydrogen cars, they tried electric cars, they tried steam-powered cars. If you think
and then you could look at all the people who got blown up.
But if you look at what they had accomplished with steam early on, and then you think about what the computer can do for that today,
right?
They can make it so you almost have instant on capabilities. There's no waiting for it to build up ahead of steam. It has these little flash boilers that don't boil enough steam to do anything.
To kill you. Is that what you're saying?
It might be changes painful, but it won't kill you. But it also it has enough that you can move. Within 1 minute, you got enough full power.
So it's like those convection stoves and how fast they are.
And it can reclaim its exhaust and run it through your heater. So in the wintertime, you can heat your car with the thing or something.
Well, Volkswagen's had that where they ran it down the frame and the running boards. Remember that? And they preheat the bottom of your car.
But that's there's a lot of things that can be done, but they just have to rethink it. I mean, 1920 was a long time ago, and if they think about what the computer can do for upgrading some of this stuff,
for all of that stuff, but automotive engineers are sorry. They're the we know it all.
The funny part is they can show you all the electric cars and all this that everybody wants, but when the Hellcat makes it revs up, everybody turns around.
Everybody walks away from that, and they come
over to watch the Hellcat do a 200-foot-long burnout and positive because that's what we want.
Tim the Toolman Taylor and more horsepower, right? With a hearty horsepower grunt.
Right, I mean, it may be cool that this car can run out in the sunshine, but this one could burn the tires off as far as you can go.
It really is going to be interesting you want politicians to lead the way, you do, but you want them to lead the way in a direction that society wants to go and not just a few bellwethers to society that say, I know what's better for all y'all than you do.
Well, the thing is, and we waste money on stupid things, but we don't. I mean, we're always about we need mass transportation, but yet as an American, I'm not leaving my car home.
Right.
So why don't they make it so that my mass transportation can take my car? So if I'm going to Atlanta for the week, I can ride down there sitting in my car, and when I get there, the train will spit me out on the track, and I can go out about my business and come back, and they'll pick me back up and bring me home.
Right. Well, we had this conversation. Rob and I sit and have these kind of in-depth conversations at
but there's
times.
a lot of things like this, batteries.
If they tried to hook onto your car to drag it anywhere, they would get half of it because it is not stable enough for them to like hook it on the fly and for it to go.
And then I'm taking my everyday car to Atlanta anyhow because somebody would steal it once it got there. It's such
They
a
wouldn't
fine
want
piece.
It is such a fine piece. My God. Rob, so for all of you who don't know, Rob likes vintage cars, and he likes vintage cars not because they're vintage, not the whole vintage where somebody looks and says, oh, look at that car going down the road. No.
I like the part where nobody's telling me what to do. So the car doesn't lock me in. It doesn't think for me. It doesn't say, oh, you forgot to hook the seatbelt. You forgot to turn off your turn signal. I can drive 150 miles with my turn signal on. It doesn't say a thing about it. It's fine with it.
No. Honestly, I think it's saying something. You're just not hearing it. Ding, ding, ding. So there is that. But he does like to get historical plates so that he only pays the man once and then he doesn't have to pay the man again. I really think that is the biggest draw to where Rob selects vehicles. No,
when you come out of the store, look, next time you come out, look, everybody's car looks like the same bubble. Mm-hmm. There's no chrome. There's no nothing. You come out and look at an old car sitting there, and it's got chrome on it. It's got fins on it. It's got a radio antenna. It's got all kinds of cool things that you don't see.
Yeah, you're right. And you see Fozzie Bear, a bear in his natural habitat, driving it down the road. I mean, okay.
That 51 Studebaker is the way to go because it's got overdrive and everything.
I'm telling you. Rob's the guy you hate to pass 5 miles with a left turn signal on the whole way. Yep, there is that, and he's probably 2 miles under the speed limit at the same time. So you don't quite know what he's doing, and he's doing it slowly. So there is
no place to be.
If you wanted to get there in a timely manner, you should have left sooner. That's sort of where that is. So let's just say that when Rob and I travel together, 90% of the time, I'm driving my vehicle and my speed because I actually want to get there in some kind of a timely manner. But when we come back, we'll go back to talking about guns and technology and just all of the stuff that's happening. But keep in mind that if you don't know about Bruin is still brewing. There's a lot.
There's
a lot of stuff that's happening that is pertinent to it, and man, it's just getting better and better. We'll be right back.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Shooter standby.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Well, welcome to hour 2 of Eye on the Target Radio. I have to tell you that you came in and the first thing you said to me was like, it's 70 days till SHOT Show or something like that, some countdown.
Well, roughly. I get it. They send me a calendar once in a while.
Great, with this countdown. I'm telling you, I am so excited about that. And prior to that...
The best part of that is that it's 70 days is SHOT, but that means the winter is just about over at that point, too. So
it's in the middle of January, so no, it's not.
Yeah, well,
you get a break. Right.
We're over the hump from where the two nastiest months are.
Maybe.
And if that groundhog stays out of, minds his own business.
That pesky groundhog.
Minds his own business, and we'll be all good.
Yeah, that neighbor to the east. Yes, exactly. So no, I don't know. I'm sitting here and I'm doing all the travel arrangements for. So the NRA is having one of their meetings, and I'm on the grassroots committee, and so that will be a busy thing. I'm on the Ohio Portage County Board of Elections board. And so Ohio has a conference on election integrity in January, so I scheduled that. Then we go to SHOT Show. Then there's Florida Carry, and Florida Carry is having their event, and so I scheduled that.
It's still hard to believe that they go camping in February.
I know it, but everybody's warm except for Rick Ector. He's cold. But no, so it's like there's all of that. Do they still disarm the attendees who at SHOT? Are we talking about? So SHOT is its own unique thing, and it's the rules of the hotels and the Sands. And SHOT, even though it's an industry thing, is different than the NRA. So NRA, when they have their annual meetings, their annual conference, they have worked hard to make it at an event that avails you to your carry and your Second Amendment rules. I do not believe, and I'm not defending the NSSF, but I believe that if there were a venue that was large enough for them to be able to have it and do that, they would avail themselves to it. But at one point, they went to Orlando, and then they found that the attendance just was not what it is in Vegas. And the support structure, even though the House of the Mouse has a rooming and housing support structure, it just was not sufficient for everything that they brought in. And so they just keep rebooking it back to Vegas. And
right. Well, I was saying, when you got that many people coming in, they got to feed them and entertain them and do all kinds of things with them besides let them look at your show. So
great. I was very scared about where you let them look at your I didn't know where you were going right there with you. And you went to show, and I was like, oh, I'm so proud of you. Right? That's not what I thought you were going to say by any means. I thought we were going to have to bring the buzzer.
It's funny. I was reading this article from AmmoLand, and they're quoting this judge. His name is John L. Sinatra Jr., and I'm thinking his mother missed the opportunity to name him Frank somewhere in that.
He should have been John F. Sinatra, right? Then you could at least,
Right, that way then he could be Little Frankie Sinatra or something.
But no.
In the meantime, he's making a name for himself now. So he, all the anti-gunners are, we hate you big. So he'll.
But this is New York Bruin. There's a storm of Bruin, Bruin and New York, and New York had, after Bruin and when they got slapped down, they went back and said, "Oh, okay, we get it now. We're going to just rewrite our rules so that we're in compliance." And then they wrote them. And you have to sort of think about it like Steve Martin and the Jerk. I don't need anything but this robe and this thermos. Well,
this staple gun and this
chair and this, right? And all of that. And so they just kept adding stuff to it. So they're safe places. They pretty much said the entire state of New York is a safe place that you can't have a gun. But if you're not in the state of New York, then New York doesn't have a problem with where you want to have a gun. I mean, that was kind of it.
So they replaced their century-old good cause requirement in New York's now defunct concealed carry law, and they put in a lot of these sensitive places. So they were banning. One of the places that they banned was places of worship,
and Times Square, and all of the and all of the public transportation.
So this is what Judge Sinatra, he's going after the church part of it, and that it looks like the church has a say in it, not the government of New York.
Funny that Sinatra's like singing New York, New York here. I'm just saying. I mean, I see the humor in this. I
guess when he said he wanted to be a part of it, this is it, huh?
This is it. Right? So it's going to be, Judge Sinatra did it his way. That's exactly it.
They call it a means and scrutiny that was listed in Bruin, and this is the sticking point that seems that they're having our trouble getting over. Is that when they look at what the law said in 1791?
They keep saying, well, you have to have reason.
I seen the thing the other day. There was a judge from the South who was appointed by Obama, you can guess, but he says that he's not a historian, and so for them to load this burden on him to try to decide what that means. So now he wants the Supreme Court to appoint him a historian.
We'll give him Ashley Ilbinsky.
But that's the thing is...
because she's going to show him that they were machine guns way before. And so it all needs to go.
But that's the thing is there's a lot of things. I mean, in reality is all he has to look at is what the law is. And that should all be written down somewhere that he should... One of his... what do they call them? Paralegals.
Law
should
clerks,
be able to find that thing that tells you what all the gun laws were.
All that stuff.
At that time,
without
a problem. He doesn't need a historian. He needs somebody that can read.
And wants to. Can and wants to. Because those two kind of go together. But
it's funny. We were on the way out to gun site. A friend of mine, he's sitting at home bored, so he's making a 11 millimeter pinfire ammo for his LaFoe pistols. And it's funny, he sends me step by step. He's sending me like video of what he's doing and that. So he started out with some 8 millimeter Mauser brass and cut it to length, and then he soldered all the holes shut, and he's in there making stuff. And he's got a couple rounds made up now. So he was going to videotape him shooting them, and I haven't.
You haven't seen that. He hasn't got to that piece of it yet. But
it is pretty cool that he can reproduce that.
Well, so that takes you right back to the history. And so it's like, pinfire is a pretty cool historical thing as long as you know where your pins are. Right? So I have to say that I saw this John Petrolino article, and John Petrolino writes for AmmoLand. If you don't read Petrolino stuff, if you're a new gun person, you want to get Petrolino's book, and Decoding Firearms by John Petrolino. You want to get his book, and it's available on Amazon, and I think on his website and all of that kind of stuff. Petrolino is a big enough deal. You can Google him, you'll find him. John Petrolino. So he writes about gun things, and the stuff, as he writes it resonates with me. So we use a lot of Petrolino's articles in here. He's actually, the Buckeye Firearms one was a Petrolino thing, and so as is this. And this one, talk about making strange bedfellows. And I'm just gonna politics makes strange bedfellows. I'm just gonna pull this in at one point. So it is really kind of odd because there are a group of people who have sued the District of Columbia about its public transport system and the public transportation system. One of those people named their organization after the Second Amendment Foundation. And, it's that imitation is the best form of flattery or whatever that is. And so I don't know why exactly he named it so close but that's neither here nor there. And so when he filed suit and it looked like it had merit, that was cool. Well, SAF, the Second Amendment Foundation, filed an amicus brief joining it. So there is a Petrolino article in AmmoLand about this amicus brief filed. But I'm just going to say politics makes extremely strange bedfellows. And I'm so glad that they're all getting along. That's kind of all I got to say about that. We'll be back right after this.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, krmaradio.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so you got to give us credit for being just active and on point. So our video producer, while we were having the conversation about SHOT Show in Vegas and the Sands Hotel and some of the hotels having anti-gun policies, so he put up a poll on YouTube asking if viewers would attend SHOT Show even though they would have to disarm. And then he sends me a message and says, right now it's yes by 66%. I was like, great. Is there an answer that says yes? Because instead I will bring stabby pokey things and carry those. And he's like, no, but I can add them. So and he's now thinking hard about concealed means concealed, and I'm going to break the law, and you can't tell me what to do, and a couple other things. I'm just going to say that don't take a survey that says I'm going to break the law, because just there's no reason to out yourself. If you decide to break the law, that's your secret, and it does not need to be on for public consumption. Just putting that out there a little bit,
Right. Well, this week coming up selection, so got to go out there. People from Oregon, 114 is coming to a town near you.
We've been talking about this ballot measure 114, and this is the one where even the police say that they don't really necessarily like it.
Well, it's mainly, it looks like it's built so that to inconvenience the police to the point where you don't want to deal with it, so that
inconvenience you and the police and just
the police said they don't. Right? Part of it was that you have to go and shoot at the police range, and they don't have enough police ranges for that to happen.
Or the defund the police, and you don't have enough police officers.
And then who else paying for the ammo and the targets and every other part of that thing?
When I pulled this story down, my notes just were written on it. This is who is driving your state's policies, because the interesting thing about this is a Cam Edwards article out of Bearing Arms. And the interesting thing is that there is a PAC that is supporting this, that has been advertising and marketing and pushing and cajoling and is pro for this bill. And, by the way, that they are supported by Everytown for Gun Safety, the former New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg, the nation's largest teachers union, and
there's some 1630 fund that Nicholas Hanauer is
participating in, and then there's a Seattle socialite, Connie Balmer.
And then they're telling you the Giffords and the Bradys also. So there's like 5 or 6 people that are paying for this, but none of them live in Oregon.
So this is funded right now. It's got $2.4 million budget that it is spending to market and advertise for Oregon ballot measure 114. $2.4 million, $1.53 million. So most of the money, three quarters of it, is really came from 5 out-of-state donors. So 5 people or groups of people that don't live in your state are trying to decide what your policies are, what your politics are, and that's that thing of who's telling me what to do. Well, they're using their money to try to tell you what to do. So Oregon, push back,
pay attention,
fight back, pay attention. So it is going to be. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing. The opponents of the measure the pro-gun folks have only raised $76,000, and the Oregon Firearms Federation donated $31,000 of that. So this is you guys need to do the grassroots. You need to be talking to one another. You need to be calling your friends. You need to be texting your hunting buddies. You need to talk to your pro-gun folks. Hang out at a gun shop and tell them enough is enough. And you don't need those out-of-staters telling you what to do, because that's really the issue. Is Oregon that anti-gun, or is it just apathetic to the funding that's coming in from out of state? So this big wash of money, and that's in a lot of cases what happens is the politics happens. You see it, and everybody's like, "Oh, well, this is what's going to happen because there's so many commercials. This is the popular side to be on." Well, it's the funded side to be on. It's not necessarily the right side or the popular side. It is the funded side. So there you go. What else you got?
Well, the Biden administration is trying to say what a gun is.
Oh, there you go. Wait, they can't say what is. Wait, no, that wasn't them. That was, you know what I mean.
So anyhow, they're changing the rules. ATF is supposed to be, I think in December, they're coming out with what an actual frame is or something.
This is, once we got past Bruin, we're going to go back to the Supreme Court case, which was the EPA versus West Virginia, which says that these letter agencies, and the ATF is a letter agency, cannot interpret. They cannot make law. They can only.
Right, but the Second Round Foundation has filed a lawsuit with this Black Hawk Manufacturing Group, which is doing business as 80% Arms.
Okay, yeah, so it's one of the 80%ers. So yeah. Okay.
So anyhow, they're stating that it's in Bruin that they're having, that this is the problem, that they don't have the Supreme Court's Bruin ruling in June, that they don't have the power to essentially rewrite the law just because they want to. It has to be written by the Congress, and
that was what was reinforced with West Virginia versus the EPA. So it was like a double whammy coming at them.
Right, so they're saying here that the 1968 Gun Control Act defined a firearm to include a finished frame or receiver, and that the new rules expand the definition and criminalizes unfinished frames and receivers and parts kits that include those components.
Right.
And so we'll see how this goes, but Bruin's going to strike this down too, and like you say, the EPA versus.
I swear, I want a T-shirt that just says Bruin with a big hammer. It says splat. Splat.
There's just a big hammer that says Bruin right on it, huh?
Right, because it is the big 2A hammer, and they are whack-a-mole, and that is exactly what it is. They're playing whack-a-mole, and the government is just the cartoon guy shaking his head, going, "What?" You know, that whoa thing. That's exactly what it is.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie. I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, so we're sitting here reading graphs. Graphs are my thing. Rob's not so much, but graphs are my thing. So there is an article by Cam Edwards that says gun shops top 1 million for the 38th straight month. And so
my wife's like, all right already.
Right. No, they just keep doing it. Oh, well, she's just saying you don't need to keep adding, you don't need to keep supporting this. It's already set a record. You don't need to help them out. Is that what she's saying? Right. Got it. Okay. Because there for a minute I wasn't sure. So the interesting thing is that at one point in 2020 was the peak year for firearms sales. But you got to keep in mind
because we weren't sure who was winning.
Right. There was a whole lot of I'm sitting in my house and I'm.
Well, if you look at it, leading up to 2016, it was ramping up. Then once we were sure who was winning, then it dropped back down. Then all of a sudden it got.
But it also in 2020 was the lockdowns, the riots. There was a lot of other stuff happening where people were like, I think that our family may need a gun in a case. I think 2020 was the year that they sat there, looked at it, and said that like 40% of those guns went to formerly non-gun owning households. So there was
congratulations. That. Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. There is that. But so it's 38 straight.
That's why you can't buy bullets either, because there's all those people who bought a new gun, bought a couple boxes of bullets.
Right.
We weren't ready for that part.
Well, there's a little bit of that, and and then you and I, when we go shooting, that was here's a week and there's 1,000 rounds, boom, done, right? So a little bit of all of that. The interesting thing is that those numbers were based on numbers from the National Instant Background Check System, so the NICS check, and On the other hand, there are multiple states that don't have to use the NICS check. And that NICS check is the states, they didn't have to use the NICS check. I'm like, I got so distracted because you did this big giant yawn, and all I could think of was hibernating bears. Sorry, kids. I lost my train of thought completely.
Some states, every sale goes through a NICS check. Some only public sales if you're buying from a new gun, and some, if you have a concealed carry permit, you don't even have to do the NICS check because your concealed carry permit covers
some of the state has it, and
so even though they're showing you that they're setting records, the sales is much higher than what they're showing.
And it's even more records because of that, and because the more states are progressively adding the concealed carry as a background check already, because you're fingerprinted, you're double checked. And so then all the gun shop has to do is make sure that your concealed carry license is still valid and has not been rescinded. And that is a different check than the NICS check. So there. But I want some time to look at this graph because I love graphs. But I
boring.
No, it's pretty cool. And it is. So
it's loaded full of non-necessary information. Since you only have half of the picture, or even less than half of the picture.
Sometimes graphs, in order to look at a really good graph, there's deeper meaning, and so you have to sit and you have to study it a little bit, and you have to say, what does this mean? Oh, what does that mean?
You have to look at what isn't it telling me, and that's the part that you need to know. And so
I think there's a little bit of all of that. I personally have a favorite of bubble graphs, so I love a good bubble graph.
Not me. Pie charts make me hungry. So
okay. So there you go. A little bit of all of that. No. At one point, I was looking at it and looking at the graphs at work, and I said something, and so then they made a sign for my office that said Geekville Population 1. And then we hired a new guy, and we were sitting there, we were doing some stuff, and we were talking to this new guy, and I pull out one of my graphs, and he was like, graphs! Oh, I love graphs! And the rest of the staff was like, oh, my aching head. And then it became Geekville Population 2. I'm just saying.
Not
my fault, man.
Yep, that's like saying grits. I love grits.
Oh no, that's like cream of wheat with corn. No. I'm sorry to all my Southerners out there, but it's just not my thing. Not.
So anyhow, there's a California sheriff that's been thrown out of office.
We have talked about this gal for a while.
So
and
when she got to court and they were going to make her throw her out of office, she turned in her resignation papers, but that didn't help her none.
Well, the interesting thing is if she resigns before they throw her out of office, does that mean she gets to keep her pension and stuff?
Well, the thing is but the judge said that overseeing the case refused the attorney's request to drop the charges, declaring that to do so would allow Smith to escape any formal consequences for her action. So, anyhow, her
they were trying to say that her
Lori
resignation
Smith,
made
and
it,
she's
made it moot.
Decades-long tenure as a top cop in California County. So she's apparently...
Well, she had been selling favors, if you will, concealed carry favors, to people who were making donations to her organization.
Well, if you wanted a concealed carry permit, she would sell you one for the donation.
Right.
It was funny because one of the lawyers said that, first of all, these aren't felonies, they're minor indiscretions, and he doesn't really see these as any kind of a serious crime.
So that is her defense attorney saying, well, one, if she quits, then it makes it moot, so you can just throw it out. And the second one is these aren't felonies. Sorry, not sorry. When the person that is given the responsibility for public safety sells that responsibility to people, or sells that ability to people, whether they can have it, should have it, or not. The person with the most amount of money, drug cartels, rich people, those were the people who were granted favors. So is that really that truth and justice in the American way?
Yeah, when you say American way, that kind of covers it.
Right? I know. No.
Yeah, I mean, at first it was starting to waver off, and then that American way.
And then I said American way. The American way says we're back to anything for a buck McGee. Is that what we're saying here? I mean, because that's really where she was. And, yeah. So Smith is history now, and she is going to go through a series of trials, and I'm hoping book her, Dano, throw the book at her. That's kind of what I'm hoping, because I think that when you take the public trust and crush it under your heel.
It says no big deal. It's just a minor indiscretion. Certainly not a violation of anyone's fundamental right to bear arms in self-defense, right?
Right, right. I mean, when you crush justice under your heel, like you're putting out a cigarette, I think that you should be punished to the full extent of the law. I think there was this really sappy song in the 70s that said, slap her down again, Pa, slap her down again.
That was actually a lot earlier than that, in the 40s.
Maybe it was the 40s, and then it came back in the 70s. Right?
No, you just heard it in the 70s.
No, well, maybe. I don't know. I do not know how I have my my extremely eclectic taste.
What it was in the 70s, I got a Victrola and about 2,000 records from 1946 to about 1951. And so that's where a lot of that stuff that flies out of your head come from.
Oh, no.
So,
So it's not my fault, it's your Victrola's fault?
Right. Well, I mean, we would listen to Donald Duck singing In the Furies Face, and Willie Spike Jones was singing it, and there was I've been then seen about everything when I see Elephant Fly, and all kinds of cool songs back in the day. But it was just because I bought a Victrola for $2 at a yard sale, and it came with a truckload of records.
Really? Yeah. Between that and
you know, what's funny is it came with some needles, and you had to change the needle every so often. You only got about 5-6 plays, and it wore the needle out. And it was funny. My dad worked at a place, and they used those needles for poking holes in something. It had to have a real fine hole, so he would just bring me home buckets full of those needles because they had them all over.
Yep. Yeah. So our video producer says that your CDs spin at 78 and need a needle. There is a little bit of that. I mean, we did have a unique childhood. There is no doubt about that. You guys are getting a snapshot of it today. I have no idea why we're strolling down memory lane, but anyhow, this gal, Lori Smith, we'll keep watching, and we'll let you know what happens to her.
Hopefully something good comes out of this, and she ends up in jail, and somebody else learns from it, and a lot of cool things happen.
I mean, and that's really the thing, is that some people, everybody is a life lesson to others. And some people are what to do, and some people are what not to do. And I sincerely hope that she's going to be a what not to do. Don't follow in her footsteps. Don't be a Lori Smith, and see what happened. And look how good that prison orange looks on her. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit ProjectChildSafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, so we are back. Let's see. My video producer says Illinois sends its governor to prison. California should send a sheriff. Yeah, that's kind of it. I think that orange could be her color.
You know, well, depending on how things work out for us on Tuesday, how many of us raise your hand, the show of hands, are in the domestic terrorist list? Because
I raised my hand before I knew what I was raising my hand for.
But that seems to be the new catchphrase that that Joe Biden, the ATF, all those guys are
my
using.
husband will say I'm not domestic anything. So that's where that is. So I may be terrorizing.
I mean, the thing is, the ATF really has no clue what to do. They're going to researchers and ask them how do they regulate us? What can they do to?
So they have asked the researchers for guidance, and that is Really?
But when you think about it, every week there's a new catchphrase. It's something new that's coming out. This doesn't catch on, so we'll change the wording and see how that goes for us.
Right.
You can see it back in the old days with the assault
weapons, smart guns.
Well, first I was assault rifle, then I went to assault pistols, and then I went to weapons and everything. So they keep trying to find just the right word to tweak it just enough that all of a sudden it gets the most bang for the buck, as they put it.
Right.
So there's a lot of things here that, I mean, and some of these people they're pretty smart people. They may not have an idea of why they're doing it, but they can come up with some good ideas of how to make your life miserable.
Right.
It's nothing against them. It's just it's almost like a game that it's played with the intellectuals.
Right. How can I, yeah. Right.
Somebody asks a question, and then they'll come up with some answers, and they don't really understand what the target of the whole thing is.
Well, and so some of the recommendations actually include. Listen to this one. So they're like, oh, what can the ATF do to regulate people? Oh, well, one is get funding so the ATF can study the curio and relic licenses for firearms, the CNR stuff and the CNR books and the CNR transport. But in spite of the fact that the ATF doesn't allege that curio and relic firearms are an issue at all, so they're not detrimental to
the funny
public
part
safety.
is they go with this curio and relic. When something turns 50 years old, you can apply. I think it automatically goes on the list, but I think sometimes if you can show that it's special, you can get on the list early and that. And but the 1898, where it's an antique firearm, that date has never creeped up. Where even the Hot Rod Association has decided 1949 was a long time ago, and they moved the date up to make your
They
hot
moved
rod.
from street rods to hot rods to So and redid the name.
They just picked 1898 and never changed it after that. So why is it that doesn't creep up along with the other dates and stuff like this?
The $200 tax stamp didn't creep either. So there was a whole lot of lack of forethought on their part. Though the $200 tax stamp, I don't think is a bad lack of forethought. I just think that they locked everything in and then walked away.
Right. I mean, you think about it, in 1934, $200 was about the cost of a little Ford sedan at that time. So,
Right. So it was like, do you want this thing to go on your gun, or do you want to feed your family for the next year? Those are your decisions that,
The funny part is they put penalties on stuff like this, like that $200 tax stamp, but they were aiming that at these gangs that were running alcohol and prostitution.
You mean the gangs that had lots and
that
lots
had
of money? Well, it had your money.
Right, so they didn't. So $200, Al Capone really wasn't a big
He didn't care.
deterrent, and then too is he stole his gun just like everybody else does.
And then he had the bank's money because they just stop in and take out a withdrawal. Whatever. However,
so it's just funny that they seem to think that this penalty is a penalty on the user, but it's really just a penalty on the law-abiding.
Well, and that's been another bumper sticker, right? Gun laws are only for the law-abiding, not for the law-breakers.
Well, all laws are for the law-abiding and not the law-breakers.
Right. Exactly. Right. So one of the things, this is a Tom Knighton article, and one of the things that has come out, and it has caused America to really think, and I think this is part of what is politically hurting the anti-gun push that the Democrat Party has, is the fact that they had been saying, defund the police, and then they said only police should have guns, and then they said if you need a gun, you call a policeman and he will come with one. And then Uvalde happened, and people realized that if the police have the gun, they may come, but they may not do anything, or they may not come. So what happens if I'm waiting and no one comes, right? And so much of America sat and watched Uvalde and were horrified. We're horrified not only about the shooter, but about the response that happened. And
or lack thereof.
Right. So I think that has probably done more to hurt the overall agenda.
Well, I think it did, and it actually helped with the ones who were trying to do something in the schools because of the fact that they got to see that they just came and stood around outside and didn't bother to do anything.
Right. So Faster Saves Lives, those programs are getting traction, are getting interest, are getting people involved in them. But but overall, just the general agenda of let's defund the police, or let's not do anything except have the police officers become our security and safety
usually
forces.
like stuff like this, Uvalde, that would have sealed the deal on some of the Democratic platform of gun control, because people they want to do something. It doesn't matter
what
if it's good or bad. Just they need to take action, and so a lot of bad laws get passed in that type of environment.
On emotion, not on data.
Right, and so it's kind of funny that people stopped and thought this out a little more than
I think it's because the Uvalde, there were camera crews there. There were parents that were tackled by police officers to keep them from going in. And then there was the requisite hero who got his gun from the barber, right? And went and saved the rest of the day. I mean, it really is. So, and people love a story of somebody who overcomes something and does good work. And so I think Uvalde's got a little bit of all of that. And so absolutely a little bit of all of that. But
so there's some of the stuff where they keep pushing these Ford cards and different things. Right now you're seeing Illinois and Indiana are going through all kinds of different court things because they don't they don't know when to say when, I think is the
well, there is a lot of
and Oregon with the 114, that's another when to say when thing. They need to slow down, I think.
Well, and they need to look at the other states that are finding that they don't have huge success with this, and then not add to their state and to their state's angst with it. It's a unique thing. But folks, go vote. Pay attention and vote on Tuesday, because your vote matters. Every vote matters. And they should have in-person Board of Election remote voting tomorrow if for some reason you can't make it on Tuesday. But get your votes involved. Get your votes counted. Show up. Thanks.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. Realize FAC